1908. Now, that year, El Nino dumped 10 inches of rain upriver from Dallas. And the results in the short term were devastating. But in the long term, they led directly to the creation of the Trinity levee system. And that in turn was the midwife for the birth of Industrial Properties Corporation. And that led to the creation of the city of Dallas as we know it today. So there was a silver lining in El Nino's cloud that year. That's why I have titled my program today, How El Nino Created the City of Dallas as it is today, and at the same time made a lot of money for the stockholders of this corporation. In 1908, the Trinity River crested at 52.5 feet above flood stage. 11 people were killed. 4,000 people were left homeless. Oak Cliff was an island. You couldn't get in, you couldn't get out. There was no electricity in the entire city of Dallas. There was no fire service, fire protection, because there was no water being pumped in the city of Dallas. There was no telephone. There was no telegraph. You can well imagine that 1908 was a very difficult time to be in the city of Dallas. But there was one unexpected side effect. Does anybody remember that great blackout of the Northeast 30 years ago where New York and all the surrounding states were blacked out? Does anybody remember what happened 9 months later? Yeah, a baby boom. That's right. A baby boom. Hey, there's no electricity. You can't go anywhere. You got to do something, you know? Well, in 1908, the folks in Dallas had that same idea. As a matter of fact, I am told that the doctors were kept busy the entire summer of 1909, and that we have one of those baby boomers with us today. Mr. Stimmons, what is your birthday? Was it July of 1909? Yeah. There's another silver lining to El Nino's cloud right there. Now, this song has to do with Mr. Stimmons when he was a little El Nino baby boy. I bet you were a beautiful baby. I heard you were a wonderful child. But your daddy told the preacher, he heard from the teacher, you were just a little bit wild. When she caught you sneaking smokes in the schoolyard, you said, now lady, live and let live. I can see your teacher's eyes as they widen in surprise when you fixed her with your famous grin. Yeah, you enjoyed that more abundant life you talk about, even way back then. Well, that's what I heard. Now, the flood of 1908 proved something had to be done. And the city fathers were searching for answers on what to do about this when a deep, booming voice rang out and said, we need to build a levee. And of course, you all realize that was the voice of Ed Burnett. No, wait. Ed Burnett built the levee, and he had the levee say, well, that's a different program, I'm sorry. The man who said we need to build a levee was Lee Halford Sr. No, he's walking levee. That's what Mr. Stimmons calls him, walking. The man who said we need to build a levee was George Kessler. He told the civic leaders of Dallas that levee would have to be 25 feet high on each side. There'd have to be 1,200 feet of open space in the middle. He said the Trinity would have to be rechanneled. He said there would have to be overflow basins. There would have to be wider streets and a train station to consolidate all these different various and sundry railroad tracks. And the city fathers listened to everything that George Kessler had to say, and they said, ooh, a railroad station, cool. And that's the only thing they did in 1908. But in time, Mr. Kessler was called back. In the meantime, he had been up in the Midwest taking care of just this sort of problem throughout that part of the world. And he realized when they called him back that actually what he had said in 1908 wasn't nearly enough. He said to the city fathers, no, the levees will have to be taller than I said. And they'll have to be wider than I said. He said, I want to make it wide enough that it would hold 2.5 times the amount of water that flooded Dallas in 1908. And this time, the city fathers listened. Well, it was a massive undertaking. The entire Trinity River had to be moved from as little as a half mile to as much as 3.5 miles. Where the Trinity all came together was moved 3.5 miles northwest.